It should really go without saying, but Street Fighter V didn't exactly have the smoothest of launches, a fact that many people have pointed out with various clickbait YouTube videos over the years. It was underfunded, understaffed, was available on fewer platforms, and it took until the very last season of content before it started to receive some truly compelling new characters and mechanics. So when Capcom and the newly appointed faces of Street Fighter, Takayuki Nakayama and Shuhei Matsumoto, announced that Street Fighter VI was in production before 5 was even finished, I was understandably a bit worried. It felt like we had been in this position before. The latest version of the last game wasn't even a year old, and we're already moving on to the next? I prefer a bit of a wait between releases, to build up that hunger, that spark to play something you love when it's been away for a few years. Then the very first teaser was released for Street Fighter VI, and yeah, I honestly didn't know what to think, but skepticism was definitely in there. Things just seemed to be moving really fast, which they were, because now, a little more than a year later, here I am reviewing Street Fighter VI for all of you today. For all my trepidation though, I am however overjoyed to just get out in front and say it, the franchise is back on incredibly solid footing with a clear identity, focus, and so much content, things to discover, and techniques to master that it's just staggering. It's the complete opposite of Street Fighter V, really. Okay, but I know what you're all gonna ask. Hey, stupid skeleton, how's the World Tour mode though? Is the online play reliable in the finished version? Where is Hagar, and is he even still alive? Well, strap on your training gloves and tighten those headbands, because we're gonna see if the answers to those questions truly lie in the heart of battle. Before we dive in any further though, some much needed context. Even if Street Fighter V had launched with tons of characters, content, and online that worked, its core gameplay and mechanics never really clicked with me. I always felt the V-trigger system locked off the interesting shit characters could do behind a time limit, and personally, this always felt a bit fractured and messy. When the system wasn't in play, a lot of the cast felt very samey, and it's only when Nakayama and Matsumoto were brought in that more fun character-specific traits started to be implemented into the base roster. Thankfully, this was made standard in Street Fighter VI, with everyone being blessed with a unique mechanic that they can employ at any time. Manon's main throw getting progressively more powerful, Ken's special dash, Kimberly's spray cans, Chun-Li's style stances, it all results in way more creativity and freedom overall. Of course, the drive system is a bit intimidating when you first start fighting, between drive impacting, rushing, punishing, edging. There's a lot to learn off the bat, but when you break them down, they are relatively simple systems individually, and they all have a place in both casual and high-level play. Now, the following is a bit of a meme on TKO, but the way everything works in Street Fighter VI reminds me quite a bit of KI 2013, which is no bad thing. Everyone had to abide by the same core systems, of which there are quite a few: breakers, counter breakers, shadow counters, etc., but every character had their own unique trait or gimmick that was simple to understand and could be utilized whenever you wanted. For me at least, while all the elements of the drive system took a little bit of time to commit to memory, once I did, it became second nature. But if you're worried about remembering the difference between a drive impact and a drive rush, well, thankfully Street Fighter VI has you covered with a really robust training suite. There's 3 main elements to how you can learn all the ins and outs. The standard tutorial, which takes you through every single universal system, also allowing you to skip whatever you already know. The combo trials, which show you all the sauce that your chosen fighter has. And finally, the character guides, which explain the pros and cons of every single special or super move and what situations they work best in. Having this resource always available to you in-game is a godsend, and I hope it becomes the fighting game standard. Free training is also here to put all of this into practice, well, fake practice, and while it has all the expected bells and whistles, it thankfully takes a page from 5's book and allows you to train on any stage you like. So yeah, I much prefer the way things flow and work in Street Fighter 6 over the last two games, but I do have a personal problem with the base roster that, as good as the gameplay is, can't really fix for me, at least not now. There really isn't a World Warrior that I've felt will become my main, just no one is making me go, oh yeah. Like, look, as much as I love them, I've become too familiar with the original 8, and while the new characters all have a few things that I absolutely love, the game lacks a character that, to me, is the total package. Wow! Take a look at that! Even the DLC roster has me like, I had really hoped we were going to get a Street Fighter 3 rep that we haven't seen in a while. Remy, Makoto, Elena, or Sean, or like even one single Final Fight character, you know, since everything takes place in Metro City. No Hagar, Lucia, Cody, Maki, Poison, Sodom, or Dean. I mean, it's nice that Carlos and Thrasher appear in World Tour, but that ain't the same thing. So yeah, your mileage will absolutely vary here, but for me, the game does lack a character that ticks every box. Speaking of World Tour mode, let's talk about World Tour mode! Street Fighter has never had a huge single-player component outside of Alpha 3's World Tour mode, or the Street Fighter 5 story, the one that... what's it called? The one where Nikali jobs to everyone and then just never shows up again? It doesn't matter. Once Capcom started showing off this crazy open world thing more and more, I kept thinking, that looks okay. Love that it's in Metro City, and I'm sure there's gonna be a few fun Easter eggs to look out for during its brief 6-hour playtime. Forgive me for cribbing a line from Mortal Kombat here, but nothing could have prepared me for just how fucking wrong I was. I think World Tour might be the best single-player mode I've ever experienced in a fighting game, and I know this might be even a bolder thing to say, but you could honestly package just this as a Street Fighter spin-off with no multiplayer whatsoever, and I would have been more than happy with that. It took me around 18 hours before I finally saw the credits roll on this, and even then, I have plenty of unfinished business across the entire friggin' globe, with lots of side quests to complete, skills to acquire, and fighters to conquer. You start in Metro City, or Fight World, as the entire economy seems to be based around punching randos in the streets. Shortly after meeting Luke and Chunners, the map opens up and you start finding lots of goodies, collectibles, and even unassuming NPCs who will offer you plane tickets to other countries, whereupon you can then learn from other street fighting legends as well as the new challengers. Some of these quests are missable, mind you, and are even multi-part affairs that require a little legwork to unlock. When you finally do stumble upon Ken, Guile, Kimberly, or Geef, you are then informed you can increase your bond with them by using their style, defeating specific NPCs, or giving them gifts, a system that was first introduced by Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. Joking aside, I was shocked at how much content is crammed into this bonding system alone. Let's take, for example, Ryu. You know, probably the most basic fighter you can think of. Sorry, bruh, but it's true. Well, you'll be amazed at how much they were able to get out of the Eternal Warrior this time around. As your bond increases, Ryu will teach you moves, tell you about himself, start texting you, which is really cute, decide to fight alongside you if you call him in for an assist, regale you with stories accompanied with little illustrations. Dude fucking bears his heart and soul to you, and this goes for every fighter in the game. Zangief loves to read mystery books, Chunners is an expert markswoman, Dalsim is seeking to perfect his curry recipes, and Juri? Well, she doesn't like me at all, she hasn't told me shit about herself yet, and I'm taking it personally. Anyway, nestled within these conversations are even small updates about Street Fighters that aren't even in the game, and instead let you know what they've been up to, which is a very appreciated touch. In terms of World Tour's core story, well, I will admit it isn't the most compelling thing ever, but it does get the job done, certainly more than whatever the plot from 5 was. This time, things center around your avatar's rivalry/friendship with Bosch, the Gary Oak of the game, which, while it starts innocently enough with shopping and pizza, soon spirals into international intrigue with some pretty high stakes. While I think following a player-designed avatar is the best move for a mode like this because it frees Capcom up to do more interesting stuff that's not Ryu or the Dark Hado or Bison for the upteenth time, I did find myself more compelled to seek out all the fighters to suck up their charisma, with the main plot being more of a secondary priority. A Deception's Conquest mode, this is absolutely the next-gen spiritual successor to that. But unlike Conquest, if you don't want to do a bunch of dry tutorial stuff, you can just not, and choose to focus on whatever tickles your fighting fancy. It's evident that World Tour was designed by Street Fighter fans for Street Fighter fans, and even though I've essentially finished it, I still have a hankering to play a lot more. Also, one final thing, fuck these fridges! Let's briefly touch on arcade mode, because I know some of you out there just want to play a few wholesome matches against the computer and get an ending. SF6 provides exactly what you want. You get a voiced introduction for your character's motivations, choose either a 5 or 12 match ladder, avec bonus stages, get a brief cutscene before your character's tailored boss, and then finally, your specific ending. The artist for these cutscenes varies for each character, thankfully giving Bengus a much-needed break from his SF5 grind, and in general, the art and voice acting deliver. Out of the last 3 Street Fighter games, I think 6 handles arcade mode the best here, making for a simple yet satisfying time. Good stuff. I'm gonna wrap up with the Battle Hub, as it's been covered so much over the last few months that most of you should be familiar with it by now. Make your dumb avatar, I have Magar here, and wander around this auditorium straight out of the Jetsons, fighting, posing, and generally goofing around. They pack so much stuff into here with a lot of thought on how to make a lobby system 1,000 times more fun and engaging than how it's been in the past, but a bunch of the main features were not available in the pre-release version I have. There's a battle pass that wasn't active, no tournaments, the avatar clothing store wasn't open, etc. I was able to get a decent amount of matches with other people who had the same build as I, and the connections were always buttery smooth. I did run into 1 or 2 matchmaking errors with a few people, but considering how well the closed betas went and how fast Capcom fixed the issues with the open beta, I'm pretty confident things will go relatively well when the floodgates open up for everyone. That's not to say they will for sure though, as much bigger companies than Capcom have had rough launches for their online games, so I can only hope for the best here. But so far, things are looking way more positive when compared to the lead up to Street Fighter V. Oh, and if you're wondering, I don't really want to mess with all this weird avatar lobby stuff to play online. Thankfully, you don't need to. Online play in both casual and ranked modes is available in the Fighting Grounds suite, so really, no matter how you want to play the game, Capcom has provided the option. The control schemes too, yes. Modern controls, they work, they make sense, but I'm still a classic guy at heart. Then there's all the other tiny details I haven't even mentioned yet. All the really cool unlockable art you can collect, the retro games, the jukebox mode, oh shit, new generation music, which will be a godsend for me because I am still not the biggest fan of many of the new character themes. The overall hip-hop vibe in the menus, Fighter Select, and World Tour are all fucking cash money though, but if I could swap out Ryu's new theme for his Third Strike one, well, I won't be complaining. And that about sums up my review on everything Street Fighter VI, with the only real negatives being a few small issues with the World Tour mode, and the game lacking a character that I've yet to truly connect with, please add Hagar, while everything else I absolutely adore. There's a ton to look forward to in the future now that the franchise has such a solid foundation on which to build upon, one that has something to offer to each and every warrior all across the world. I enthusiastically award Street Fighter VI 4.5 Metro City Street Meats out of 5. And if you want to see more Street Fighter 6, head on over to my second channel, Flophouse Plays, to see Magar pile drive his way through the first few hours of World Tour mode in his quest to become a fully fledged member of the Mad Gear gang. Thanks for watching, fellow warriors, and I'll see you next time.
Started from the bottom and I'll never look back. Look at all my haters, y'all making them mad. When it's all said and done, they gon' call me a legend.